It's 2:37 p.m. on a Tuesday. The setting is Windsor Castle. Now, usually when you picture a royal emergency, you're probably thinking, sirens, police escorts, the flashing
The
lights.
whole public spectacle.
Exactly, the thing we've seen on the news 1,000 times. But the documents we're looking at today, they describe something, well, something much more chilling. They call it a silent urgency.
That phrase, it really stuck with me. Silent urgency. It describes this convoy of unmarked vehicles just slipping through the private gates. No noise, no fanfare.
Just a catastrophe unfolding behind walls that were built to keep the world out.
Precisely. And that's really the heart of what we're getting into today.
Right. So we've got a stack of materials here, specifically the Locked Secrets transcript, and it details this really harrowing 72-hour window. It takes us from what seemed like a normal afternoon to a medical choice that it could genuinely alter the course of the British monarchy.
It could. And the mission for this deep dive isn't just to, recount the drama like a tabloid. We want to peel back the layers of this transcript to really understand the medical reality of a neurological crisis.
And the brutal choices they were facing.
Exactly. The game theory of the surgical options and the family dynamics that happen when you strip away all the titles.
Because at the center of it, before you even get to Princess, you have a patient. And you have Prince William. The source places him in South London at a veterans housing initiative.
Just doing the job, shaking hands, the professional smile, the small talk.
And then that vibration in the pocket.
The message that stops everything. And the transcript says it's just 6 words.
Yeah.
You need to come now. It's Catherine.
And for anyone listening who might not speak palace protocol, that phrase, the emergency, that's not for a scheduling mix-up, is it?
Oh, absolutely not. In the royal household, emergency is a specific code. It's a trigger. It means the rule book is just gone.
Yeah.
That means William has to drop the public mask immediately.
So his security just moved.
They just moved. It signals this instant shift from public duty to, private survival.
So let's unpack this. We're looking at the collapse, the diagnosis, and this impossible choice. But to get the gravity of that Tuesday, the source material actually makes us rewind a bit.
It does. Because one of the key insights here is that this sudden collapse, it really wasn't sudden at all.
That's the terrifying part, isn't it?
It's the scary part of neurology. We think of brain injuries as these lightning bolts, a stroke, a seizure, something that happens in a second. But this transcript details a creeping fatigue. It had been building since late winter. It was like a slow-motion car crash that nobody saw coming.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of being run down, but the symptoms here were different. The source lists headaches, dizziness.
Moments where she felt the world just tilt on its axis. And importantly, moments of confusion, losing her train of thought mid-sentence.
But the question the source poses is, what do you blame that on when you're the most photographed woman in the world?
Stress, exhaustion, maybe you skip lunch.
Jet lag.
Precisely. She dismissed it. Her husband dismissed it. And the transcript is careful to say this wasn't negligence. It was just normalization. They thought it was a vitamin deficiency or just the weight of the crown, so to speak.
When your baseline is that high pressure, the symptoms just look like part of the job.
Right. But looking back with the medical notes, there were some serious red flags.
There's one detail in the source material, the necklace incident, that I found absolutely haunting. It reads like something out of a medical thriller.
That moment is the biological smoking gun. It happened about a week before the collapse. She was getting dressed, standing in front of the mirror, and she physically could not figure out how to fasten the clasp of her necklace.
And just to be clear for you listening, we aren't talking about fumbling with a small latch because your hands are cold.
No, we're talking about something called ideomotor apraxia. It's when the brain knows what it wants to do, close the necklace, but the neural pathway to the fingers to actually execute that sequence, it just disconnects.
So her hands just stopped?
Her hands went to her neck and just stopped. She had lost the how.
That gives me chills. It's such a basic muscle memory task. You don't even look when you do it.
It is, and biologically, that signals a problem in the frontal or parietal lobes. Those are the command centers for planning movement. When those circuits misfire, it's not fatigue. It's a blockage. It's a sign that something is literally pressing on the wiring.
The transcript says she recovered in just a few seconds. The knowledge came flooding back, and she just moved on. But she knew.
Oh, she was terrified. But again, you have to consider the psychology of her position. There's this deep drive to postpone the after. I'll see the doctor after this engagement. I'll deal with it after the school term. It's a kind of high-functioning denial.
Which brings us to the breaking point. That Tuesday meeting, she's with her communications team, talking about her passion project, early childhood development, and then the lights go out.
It's described in the source as speech arrest. This is different from just forgetting a word. This is Broca's area, the language center in the brain, just shutting down. The brain sends the signal to the mouth to make a sound, and nothing happens.
And then the collapse.
A tingling down her left side, a rising darkness, and then, yeah, a total loss of consciousness.
And as she's being wheeled away, before she's completely out, she has this moment of clarity. She realizes this monster had been growing silently the whole time.
It wasn't stress, it wasn't vitamins, and that realization, that's what sets the stage for the shift to Windsor. This is where the story stops being a mystery and becomes a hard medical reality.
William makes the drive in 23 minutes. The source notes that usually takes 40. He's flying through London. When he gets there, the room isn't full of the usual Palisades. It's heavy hitters.
That's how you know how bad it is. It's not the GP. You've got Dr. Sarah Chen, an oncologist. You have Professor Michael Hartley, a top neurologist. The presence of those people tells you everything before a single word is spoken.
And William's first question is just, where is she? But they block him. They won't let him see her yet.
Because they have to manage the shock.
Yeah.
They can't let him see her until he understands what he's about to walk into. The diagnosis isn't vague anymore. The MRI is up on the screen.
They found a mass, a 3-centimeter tumor in the frontal lobe.
And let's pause on that location for a second. The frontal lobe. That specific spot is so critical.
Why is that?
Because the frontal lobe is basically the CEO of your brain. Yes, it controls motor function, which explains the necklace incident. It controls speech. But more than that, it controls who you are.
Personality.
Personality, planning, emotional regulation, social behavior. A tumor there doesn't just threaten your life. It threatens your selfhood,
Yeah.
the very essence of the person.
And the source is very clear about the nature of this mass. It has an aggressive growth pattern.
Right, and they give William a timeline that is, frankly, just brutal. They tell him, without treatment, weeks to months.
Weeks. That's a terrifying compression of time.
It's a shock that's hard to process. You leave your wife in the morning thinking she's just tired, and you come back in the afternoon to be told she might not make it to the summer.
And he's the one who has to tell her. The doctors step back, and William walks into the room. She's awake. I can't even imagine the weight of that.
Her reaction is what's so fascinating. You'd expect hysteria or denial, but the source describes quiet confirmation.
Yeah.
It just says, that explains it. The feeling like I was disappearing piece by piece.
Disappearing piece by piece. What a devastating way to describe neurological decline.
It really is. It gets back to that idea of identity. She felt herself fading. The diagnosis gave it a name, but naming it's just the first step. The real horror of the situation comes the next morning.
This is the impossible choice, the core dilemma.
It's named a top neurosurgeon, Dr. James Morrison. And they lay out 2 surgical paths for William and Catherine. And honestly, putting yourself in their shoes, there's no good choice here.
Let's break them down for everyone listening because the medical details are key to why this was such a nightmare. So option A is the aggressive resection.
Think of this as the high-risk, high-reward strategy. The medical term is gross total resection. The goal is to get every single visible cell of that tumor out. Dig deep, clear the margins.
And if it works?
She buys years, potentially 5, maybe even 10 years of life.
But the cost of that gamble is huge.
It's massive. A 30% chance of severe permanent complications. We're talking paralysis on one side, permanent speech loss.
Wow.
Cognitive impairment where she might not recognize her own family.
Yeah.
She could come out of that surgery a fundamentally different person.
Trapped in her own body.
Right. Which leads to option B, the conservative resection.
This is the safer surgery.
It's often called debulking. You only remove the parts of the tumor that are immediately life-threatening. You preserve who she is. You save her personality, her movement, her speech. But it's not a cure. The tumor is still there. The life expectancy drops to 6 to 9 months. And the end of that road is a progressive decline that will require full-time care.
So, to put it starkly, you either gamble with your very identity for a shot at more time, or you keep who you are but accept a death sentence in less than a year.
That's the brutal equation. And this is where the source material introduces a layer that makes this uniquely tragic for them. The doctors bring up what they call the constitutional complication.
I remember reading this part and just feeling so angry for William. It felt incredibly cold.
It is harsh, but it's also practical statecraft. Dr. Chen points out that if she chooses option A, the aggressive surgery, and ends up incapacitated, unable to speak or think clearly,
There are questions about her role as future Queen Consort.
Exactly. They start talking about regencies. They bring up the 1937 Regency Act.
And William just snaps. He basically says, my wife is dying and you're quoting protocol at me.
But Catherine stops him. And this, I think, is the defining character moment in the entire transcript.
She accepts it.
She does. She accepts the duty. She understands she isn't just a patient, she's a symbol, and her ability to function matters to the state. But ultimately, she chooses option A. She chooses the aggressive surgery.
Why? Was it because of the crown? To avoid the regency issue?
The source is really clear on this. It wasn't for the crown. It was for the children. She looked at the timeline, 6 to 9 months versus potentially years. She realized 9 months means she misses George becoming a teenager. It means leaving Louis at just 8 years old.
She said she wasn't ready to give up.
It's a mother's logic. It completely overtakes the medical statistics. She decided she would rather risk the disability, risk the complications, for just a chance to see them grow up, rather than accepting a guaranteed quick exit. She chose to fight.
She bet on herself. So the decision is made. The clock is ticking. But the world outside doesn't know yet?
Until it does. Bleak. It's almost inevitable these days. A healthcare worker, a text message, and suddenly social media is on fire. The palace is forced to put out that vague 9:00 p.m. statement we all saw.
Serious medical condition. That phrase does a lot of heavy lifting.
It does. It triggers the vigils, the news alerts, all the speculation. But inside the castle, the focus is entirely on family, and specifically on Friday afternoon. The most heartbreaking scene in the transcript. Telling the kids.
And you have 3 children at very different levels of understanding.
Right. You can't tell an 8-year-old the same thing you tell an 11-year-old. George, the eldest, he understands the subtext immediately.
He asks the question no parent ever wants to answer.
When Catherine is trying to explain that she might be different or away for a long time, George just cuts right through it. He says, you might die.
And she doesn't lie.
She can't. And this is a really important point the source highlights about their parenting. William learned the hard way with his own mother, Diana, that false hope is just cruel. If you tell a child it's going to be fine and then it isn't, you break their trust forever.
So she admits it. She says, I might.
And then there's Louis, the youngest.
The 8-year-old.
He tries to solve a medical crisis with a hug. The source says he just climbs into her lap and refuses to move. It's that kind of magical thinking of childhood. If I just hold on tight enough, if I physically keep her here, nothing bad can happen.
Which is devastating because as adults, we know medicine doesn't work that way.
Exactly. And after the kids leave, there's one last conversation. It's Friday night, the surgery is just hours away, and she makes William a promise.
This is the what-if conversation.
She makes a request that is, it's just very difficult to hear. She tells him that if the surgery leaves her unrecognizable, if that 30% risk happens, and she can't be a mother, can't function, she doesn't want to be kept alive just because the resources exist to do so.
She doesn't want to be a ghost in her own life.
She refuses to be a lingering tragedy. But the second part of the promise is about him. She tells him he cannot let grief consume him. And she references Diana explicitly.
That's a powerful callback.
It is. She knows what that unresolved grief did to his father, King Charles. The shadow it cast. She demands that William keep living. She basically says, promise me my death won't destroy everything we built.
That is such a heavy burden to place on someone. If I die, you have to be okay.
It is, but it's also, I think, the ultimate act of love. She's trying to secure the psychological future of her family, even if she's not there to see it. She's parenting from the precipice.
So we reached the end of the source material. It is Saturday morning. Dawn is breaking over Windsor. The surgery is scheduled.
The 72-hour window has closed. The diagnosis is in. The impossible choice has been made. The goodbyes are said.
And the source leaves us with this image of William just holding her hand. The world is watching outside, cameras at the gates, but in that room, it's just silence.
It brings us right back to that opening idea, the silent urgency. The transcript ends on this reflection about hope, how hope feels so necessary but also so cruel.
Because at that point, it is completely out of their control.
Completely. They're at the mercy of biology. The surgeons can have the steadiest hands in the world, but once they open the cranium, the outcome is dictated by the cells, not the crown. As the source says, some stories cannot have easy endings.
It's a stark place to leave it, but that's where the documentation ends. It's a portrait of a family just suspended in that terrifying moment before the outcome is known.
And I think that's why this particular account, whether you follow the royals or not, it resonates so deeply. It strips away the titles. It strips away the palaces, the protocol. and it just leaves you with a husband, a wife, and a brain tumor.
It really highlights the terrifying randomness of it all. One minute you're talking about early childhood development, the next you're fighting for your very identity.
That's the takeaway for me. The fragility of normal and the incredible weight of having to make these life or death decisions. Well, the whole world is speculating outside your window. For all the privilege, the biological vulnerability is exactly the same for everyone.
Well, that is a heavy deep dive, but a necessary one to understand the human reality behind all those headlines. It's a story of resilience, impossible choices, and the quiet moments that happen behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone, and maybe hold your loved ones a little closer today. We'll see you next time.